All right. Round of applause for our Canine and Kennel Rangers. As you can see, families fight. It's all right. But as you can see, by the enthusiasm shown there and the enthusiasm shown here, these dogs love what they do. And they play a very vital role in this park. Among the things I mentioned earlier, these dogs also allow us to keep our wilderness areas wild. Remember when I asked you to listen to what you heard when the dogs were running, right? All right, now's your time to shine. What'd you hear? Shout it out. I heard not much, some quiet, maybe a little bit of barking, but not necessarily from these dogs. Those dogs just wanted to be out here running with them. Maybe some calls given by the musher. Yeah. How about this? What didn't you hear? Engines, right? Motorized vehicles, maybe. That's pretty neat. So they allow us to keep our wilderness areas wild. And Denali has 2 million acres of designated, capital W, wilderness areas, which is the highest form of protection that any piece of land gets from the federal government. And when I say that word, wilderness, what comes to mind for you? Or rather, how would you define wilderness? Go ahead and shout that out.
Remote.
Remote, last frontier.
Unspoiled by humans.
Unspoiled by humans. All right. Well, the federal government has a very specific definition for wilderness, part of which is an area where the earth and its community are untrammeled by man, where man himself is a visitor who does not remain. Now, of course, that comes with a few rules and regulations for how a wilderness area should be run. One of which is there shall be no use of motor vehicles. So we can't use things like snow machines or ATVs to go out and patrol the wilderness or patrol the backcountries, things like that. Lucky for us, our dogs provide the perfect alternative to motorized transportation. They have very little impact on the wild, and even the sound of the wild gets to remain relatively undisturbed, outside of a few excited barks and some calls given by the musher. Can anybody else think of any other advantages to using a team of sled dogs versus, say, a snow machine in the dead of winter in interior Alaska?
Better for the environment.
Better for the environment? Yeah, absolutely.
Less malfunction.
The battery doesn't die. These dogs are always going to start up at 40 below. You don't even have to worry about it. These dogs are bred and born for this job that they perform here. When you think of a sled dog, what breed comes to mind?
Husky.
Husky, yeah. So these dogs are Alaskan Huskies. And this is not an AKC or American Kennel Club registered breed, because they're not bred for their looks, even though they're stunning. But they're bred for their functionality. These dogs are known as freight dogs. And they're a little bit different from the racing dogs that you would see in the Iditarod. Those dogs are bred for speed, and these dogs are bred for hauling, long distance hauling. So these dogs will haul whatever equipment our rangers need them to haul for however long our rangers need them to do it, to whatever location our rangers need them to go to, including, but not limited to, the 1,000+ pound beams on the Triple Lake Suspension Bridge. Check it out if you get a chance. But looking at the dogs right now, what traits do they have that you can see that would allow them to live and thrive in interior Alaskan winters? I heard the first one I want to talk about, that thick, fluffy coat. Yes, And it's actually double layered. So they have an inner coat and they have an outer coat. Now that inner coat kind of acts like a down jacket that we would put on ourselves underneath a rain jacket. It is very thick and it traps the heat really close to the dog's bodies, so it keeps them nice and warm. That outer coat is the rain jacket. Those thicker, coarser hairs are basically water resistant. So even though, they're running through snow or snow falls on them, it doesn't really melt in. So that way they get to stay both warm and dry. What else do we see? Maybe something that wags a little bit. Their tails, yeah, thick fluffy tails, right? When our dogs are out there working in the backcountry, they do in fact sleep outside. And there is one part of them that is not covered. That is not covered in that thick double layered coat. And can't quite put my finger on it. Yeah, it's their nose, I heard it. So when the dogs are sleeping outside, what they'll do to stay that extra little bit of cozy is they'll curl up in a ball and drape their tail over their nose like a little blanket. Helps them stay nice and warm. So big, thick tail comes in handy, right, Blitz? Yeah, it does. That's perfect, because that's the next thing I wanted to hear. They have big paws. They have really big, closed-toed, compact paws, actually. And I say compact for a reason. When you think of a dog, well, it helps Blitz, dig, so that's great for him. But when you think of a dog like a golden retriever, right? Those dogs typically really like to swim. So the toes on their paws are going to be able to spread out, and they have a little bit more webbing in between. And that helps them pull on the water and swim efficiently. Okay? Our dogs run through the ice and the snow. So we want their toes to be really compact, close together, so that they don't get, ice crystals or snowballs in between their toes. It's like when we have a rock in our shoe. Nobody likes that, not even our dogs. Okay? And what are those paws attached to? Long, strong legs, that's right. Sometimes when our dogs are out there, they will have to do something that is called breaking trail. And that means that they could be moving through snow that might be as high up as their chests. So that's where those long, strong legs really come in handy to just power through that snow. All right, but when the going gets tough, our canine rangers do get a break, and the human rangers will go out in front on their skis or snowshoes and break trail for them. And there's one more thing that we want all of our dogs to have, that we look for, that might not be something that you can really physically see. And that's their personality. We want our dogs to be enthusiastic. We want our dogs to be intelligent. And we want our dogs to have the will that it takes to get the job done. Now, as you could see, when they were getting hooked up to the cart, enthusiasm is no problem. These dogs love what they do, they are raring to go, and oftentimes their excitement is contagious. But as excited as we want them to be, we also really need them to be intelligent. We need them to be able to listen to and take the commands that are given by the musher. Our mushers have very specific commands that let the dogs know when to take a right, when to take a left, even when to just focus on the trail and not worry about any wildlife that's out there. But there's something else that's maybe even a little bit more intangible than enthusiasm and intelligence. And that's the drive, the will, the spirit that it takes to get this job done, even though it might be difficult or new or scary. Just this past winter, we had a team out and they were mushing along the Teclanica River. All right, and we had Party in single lead and Pinata in swing behind her, and the team is just cruising along like they've been doing their whole lives. And as they're going along, they discover that part of their prior trail was no longer there. It disappeared. So there's just this wide trailless expanse in front of them. And a few hundred yards into that trailless expanse, Party and Pinata started to get a little bit confused. And they started to turn the team around a few times, saying like, hey, what are we doing? The trail's back there. Why are we going this way? We should be going that way. All right? So once it became clear that Party and Pinata weren't going to continue going west, it was time for the musher to maybe take a pause and reevaluate who was going to be put in lead to lead the team. So our musher's looking around at the other dogs. She looks down and she sees sweet Merlin. And Merlin is sitting there, she's wagging her tail, and she's got this look in her eyes that says, hey, put me in, coach. Let me take the lead. I've got this. And sweet, sweet 2-year-old Merlin, who has not had that much lead experience, let alone in single lead, confidently held out that team as she turned them around and charged up the Tech River, leading like she had been doing it her whole life. These dogs are special. These dogs are essential to preserving the millennia-old tradition of mushing that has allowed this place to be home to some of the most pristine wilderness in the world. And before I let you all go, it is time for us to let our canine rangers go back to the comfort of their homes. Now, most of our dogs can run loose back to their houses. Here's how this works. One ranger will go stand by the dog's house while another will unhook, unharness, and release the dog. If all goes well, the dog will run back home and receive a treat from Josh and Dog. However, this can cause some excitement, so we're going to stay behind those barriers. First up, we have Gus. He's such a sweet boy. Oftentimes doesn't even need to be told to ignore Robin because he's already doing it. Up next, we have Pinata, who is a very, very sweet yet shy boy. Got an excellent side. Alright, up next we have little Jolie. And what she lacks in size, she makes up for brains.